Good morning, friends. Easter Day. We've made it. All our preparation for Lent has led to this point, this moment, this day. And now we can really understand a lot more deeply if we've been just gently doing work on ourselves, discussing things with other people, trying to understand what this Easter Day is all about. But let's just remind ourselves, what is this Easter Day all about? It might be about Easter eggs, which is fine, and all that sort of good yummy stuff. But it's also about something just slightly more sustaining than Easter eggs. The collect, where we look to begin with, for the keynote of the day, reads, O God of love, we praise thee, we bless thee. With all our hearts do we thank thee, and magnify thy name, for this most holy and wondrous festival of Easter. So we recognize what this day is actually all about. This day is all about God of love, the Christ, magnifying his name, really understanding what that means in our life. For in the glorious victory which in it is commemorated and symbolized. So we'll just think about this victory in a moment. This victory which is commemorated and symbolized. Thou hast given us the sure and certain witness that good shall finally triumph over ill, and that death is a gateway to thy ineffable splendor of eternal life. A gateway. So we have this idea of a gateway. Now, if we wanted to use maybe 21st century psychological language, we could use the word portal, and then we might sort of think software and all that sort of stuff. But in fact, we could think about a change of consciousness. We could think about Alice in Wonderland, if you like, and the falling down into whatever she fell down. We could think about the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, of going into the wardrobe and the new world opening up. So we've actually got lots of symbols, lots of ideas, lots of stories that capture the essence of this. But here, this gateway is more glorious than those particular gateways. This is the gateway of the kingdom of heaven that we can experience here with our living bodies, day on day in our meditations, attending ceremonies like the Eucharist. We can experience it. We can experience the numinous, and then when we die, we get into the full glory of it. So this is just a transition. Life transitions, but we're not here particularly to talk about that topic today. We're here to think about what is the message of Easter. So it's centered around the Christ. Then, when we think of the Epistle, which Wendy read this morning, it's got some really, really interesting, strong clues. St. Paul is speaking to the Corinthians, to those Greeks wanting to understand what's going on from Corinth. And he uses this very powerful symbol, talking to people and saying, okay, maybe you're a little bit confused about what sort of body we're talking about is going to resurrect. Well, it's not the physical body, because it's just like wheat. Your wheat is like physical body. The wheat is planted in the ground, which is another way of saying your body is born into the earth here, and you go about your work and all the rest of it. Then, in the same way that the wheat dies and something new grows from it, when you die, a new body arises from it. So, if you think about what wheat looks like, the actual plant of the wheat, it looks absolutely nothing like a grain of wheat. A grain of wheat is really tiny. When it's planted in the ground, it grows a big long stalk, and on the end of the stalk is a whole lot of other seeds. So it multiplies. It multiplies its potential by dying in the ground and being reborn in a new world. So that's the analogy. Now, this is the really important thing to recall. we are not just our bodies. We are a soul. And even more than that, we are the Spirit of God, even more powerful, more in connection with the universe. But just at the soul level, at the Christ level, at the point where Christ resides in our hearts, at that point, that is the resurrected body. That is the spiritual body. So when we're thinking about, people say, well, how are you going to rise up again? Body's all sort of not in good shape. It's not like that. And so we don't think in those simplistic terms. We try to understand that the body is much more complicated, not complicated, but it's more, has more aspects to it than just what we see. So St. Paul is trying to bring this to the attention of the people that are listening to what he's talking about. And then he concludes by saying, so you really shouldn't be so upset about death. Death's got no hold over you. Death is a transition. Death is a portal from one means of existence into another. Just like birth is exactly the same. You come from one place and you're born. You live your life, you die, you go into a new place. It's a transition. Every time it happens, your potential increases if you work on yourself, if you try to understand what life is all about, if you look for enrichment in all the things we have spoken about, and particularly in the preparation through Lent leading up to this point. And then in the Gospel for St. Matthew, a relatively straightforward story, but again, loaded with information. So the first day of the week, which is Sunday, as it happens, and after the Passover, don't forget that the original Easter, all the Jews were gathered for the Passover, just as they are at this time now, gathered for the Passover in Jerusalem. So just at exactly the same time as the Christians call it Easter, the Jews are calling it the Passover. So they're all gathered here. Now, the first day of the week, people are allowed to get out and about. And the women go to the sepulchre. The stone is rolled aside, and there are angels there, higher beings, saying to them, maybe teasing them slightly, saying, what are you looking for? And of course, the women are rather struck by this and say, well, we're looking for Jesus. And they say, well, why are you looking for him here? There's only dead people here. He's risen. He's risen. What's risen? His spiritual body has arisen. And they are just absolutely flabbergasted and filled with joy. And they turn to come back, and then Jesus appears in his spiritual body. He appears. And they fall down and hold his feet and worship him. And he says to them, go and tell the apostles, go and tell the disciples, haven't quite got the name of apostles at the moment, go and tell the disciples to go into Galilee. There I'll meet them there. And in these excerpts, which form the part of the Epistle and the Gospel this morning, there is a fuller section from St. Paul where he recalls to the attention of the readers in Corinth, just remember the incidences of Jesus appearing. He appeared to 500 people. He appeared to this person. He appeared to that person. He appeared to the disciples. Just remember those stories. And in the actual Gospel of Matthew, at the conclusion, this passage is just at the conclusion of Matthew, the high priests interrogate the guards who have recovered themselves and have gone back and reported that the body is no longer there. And they give the guards a lot of silver and say, I want you to start spreading a rumour now that the disciples came and carried him off. And so that's what the guards tried to do. They tried to spread a rumour. Sound familiar? That's right. The same thing happens in our lifetime. And in our lifetime, we should use the same discrimination to try and understand these depths of reason, logic, and then spiritual inspiration. It's most important that you grasp the full meaning of Easter, not focus on the gory bit. Liberal Catholics think about the huge transition that Jesus went through. And don't forget, Jesus kept telling us, you will go on the same path. So as Christians, we are being given an example by Jesus. So not to be crucified or anything remotely like that, but to grow as he grew, and to exhibit the powers that he exhibited, almost godlike, because they are godlike. So the message of Easter is very broad and pretty exciting. We keep our feet on the ground, we go forward one step at a time, but we remember the essence of our being is divine. The essence of our being is where we're headed back to. And for us then, Easter time is a remembrance. That's the path, and that's the conclusion of the path for us, to go in the same direction and have the same experiences as Jesus. So this is rather heady stuff, maybe, hard to absorb, hard to really build into our lives. But that's what we try to do as Christians. Every day we try to make this more real. We try to make every day Easter Day. We say to ourselves, I'm essentially divine. The Christ was in me, the Christ is in me, and I will be led by the Christ. These are very rich messages of Easter, a very special day. Take full advantage of it spiritually. Grow into it, expand into it, make it part of your life.